Hello, hello, my good friends, and welcome back to another ASMR video. So today, I am going to be sharing with you the history of Halloween. And this is coming straight from history.com. I'll link the page below. Alright, let's begin. Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 31st, and Halloween 2023 will occur on Tuesday, October 31st. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor All Saints. Soon, All Saints' Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows' Eve, and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats. And I will get into the ancient history of Halloween. Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts, who lived 2,000 years ago, mostly in the area that is now Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France, celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to earth. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the druids or Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. For a people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. To commemorate the event, druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of all animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other's fortunes. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which they had extinguished earlier that evening, from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming winter. And this says, do you know? 1/4 of all the candy sold annually in the US is purchased for Halloween. Okay. By AD 43, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. Celtic. In the course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, 2 festivals of Roman origin were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first was Feralia, a day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today on Halloween. Okay, so how did Halloween start in America? The celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief systems there. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and the southern colonies, as the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and the American Indians meshed. A distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance, and sing. Colonial Halloween festivities also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn activities were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. Alright, so next we have the history of trick or treating. Borrowing from European traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes and go house to house asking for food or money, a practice that eventually began today's trick-or-treating tradition. Young women believed that on Halloween they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarn, apple parings, or mirrors. In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighborly get-togethers than about ghosts, pranks, and witchcraft. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, foods of the season, and festive costumes. Parents were encouraged by newspapers and community leaders to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations. Because of these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitious and religious overtones by the beginning of the 20th century. Now we're going to talk about Halloween parties. By the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween had become a secular but community-centered holiday, with parades and town-wide Halloween parties as the featured entertainment. Despite the best efforts of many schools and communities, vandalism began to plague some celebrations in many communities during this time. By the 1950s, town leaders had successfully limited vandalism, and Halloween had evolved into a holiday directed mainly at the young. Due to the high numbers of young children during the 50s baby boom, parties moved from the town civic centers into the classroom or home, where they could be more easily accommodated. Between 1920 and 1950, the centuries-old practice of trick-or-treating was also revived. Trick-or-treating was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share the Halloween celebration. In theory, families could also prevent tricks being played on them by providing the neighborhood children with small treats. Thus, a new American tradition was born, and it has continued to grow. Today, Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. Okay, so now we're gonna get into some random Halloween facts. Now that you know the history of Halloween. Alright. An intense and persistent fear of Halloween is called Samhainophobia. Unlike today's lighthearted and candy-filled holiday, A festival of the dead was believed to be the day when the gates of hell would open and unleash wandering, angry spirits. Hard not to be scared of that. The word witch comes from the Old English weis, meaning wise woman. At one time, these women were highly respected. According to popular belief, witches held meetings known as sabbats on Halloween night. Trick-or-treating began in areas of the UK and Ireland. Poor people went house to house souling, so called because they asked for small breads called soul cakes in exchange for prayer. While this is the most popular origin story, another potential origin of trick-or-treating is mumming, where costumed performers would go door to door, exchanging songs for a glass of something hot and usually alcoholic. The first jack-o'-lanterns were actually made from turnips. While pumpkins are typically orange, they can also be green, white, red, and gray. The world's largest pumpkin weighed in at 1,247 kilograms, or 2,749 pounds. This new record was set in 2023 at the 50th World Championship Pumpkin Weigh-Off in Half Moon Bay, California. Black cats, spiders, and bats are all Halloween symbols because of their historical ties to Wiccans. These animals were thought to be companions of witches in the Middle Ages and are often associated with bad luck. The Village Halloween Parade in New York City is the United States' largest Halloween parade, involving 50,000 participants and over 2 million spectators. While the celebration was curtailed during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's back to full force now. In many cultures, people return to their hometowns on Halloween to purchase candles and flowers in preparation for All Saints' Day on November 1st. Originally, wearing a mask at Halloween was for protection. Masks at Halloween were initially worn to ward off evil spirits. People believed that at Halloween, souls would come back to walk the earth looking for lives to take with them. So the theory was that if you wore a scary mask, you would scare off the evil spirits. Blue moons on Halloween are rare. Blue moons are rare enough as it is, so to fall on Halloween is a unique occurrence, happening every 18 to 19 years. A blue moon is the second full moon to occur in the same month. October's first moon is called a harvester's moon, and if there is a second, it's called the hunter's moon. In Lithuania, Halloween is the night when light meets darkness. In Lithuanian, it is believed that half of the year is light and half dark, not just in terms of physical light, but in spirit too. Halloween marks the day where these two meet, and it is the change from light to dark. Sometimes the light is seen as good and the dark as evil. So often, children will dress in black or white to represent either side. Guising was the original trick-or-treating. Guising was a British term used for the act of dressing up in a way so that your identity is disguised. The act of guising has been recorded in Scotland from as early as the 16th century. One of the main ways of guising was to wear a mask or face covering on Halloween. In the 1800s, this began to develop into wearing masquerade masks while going round to homes souling or asking for fruit. There are no mask policies for Halloween. In the US, there are many rules about wearing masks in public on Halloween. For example, in Dublin, Georgia, it is illegal to wear a mask if you are under the age of 16. And in Belleville, Illinois, it is also legal to wear a mask if you are under the age of 12 years old. The loudest single scream at Halloween was record-breaking. English teaching assistant Jill Drake broke a Guinness World Record in October 2000 whilst attending a Halloween festival in London, England, the former Millennium Dome. Drake's scream measured an incredible 129 decibels. That's the equivalent of a rock concert with a loud symphony. In Wales, the recording angel who dies on December 1st. In Welsh mythology, the spirit named Angelister, which means recording angel, will appear each Halloween at the yew tree. The spirit is sent to tell the village they will be the next to die. The tree is located in the churchyard of St. Degane's Church in the village of Llangernew, Conwy, Wales. Sorry. The largest pumpkin sculpture was of a zombie apocalypse. Over the course of 2 days, Ray Villafane created the world's largest pumpkin sculpture. The record took 2 days to complete and used 2 pumpkins weighing 1,818 pounds, or 824 kilograms, and 1,693 pounds, or 767 kilograms. He created a zombie apocalypse scene across the 2 pumpkins between October 22nd to 23rd in 2011. As well as the world's largest pumpkin sculpture, there's a record for most pumpkins carved simultaneously. A total of 1,060 people in New Mexico, USA, simultaneously carved pumpkins, making them the largest group in the world to carve pumpkins at the same time. The record went to Galloping Grace Youth Ranch and the citizens of New Mexico on October 26, 2013. Charlie Brown was the first TV character to trick or treat. In 1966, an episode of the famous cartoon Charlie Brown had the characters go trick-or-treating. This was the first time the concept of trick-or-treating was seen on a television program. The cartoon became the face of trick-or-treating, and everyone wanted to be like Charlie and his friends. Halloween candy used to be homemade. Caramel apples and popcorn were popular Halloween treats. Due to the time of year, apples are in harvest and readily available, so a popular treat was to coat or roll apples in sweet treats. The most common form of caramel apple was to roll the apple in caramel, followed by nuts. It wasn't until the 1970s that candy manufacturers started to market Halloween-specific candy, and the trend turned to buying pre-made candy. In Germany, it is a tradition for households to hide their knives on Halloween. A tradition in Germany is that on Halloween, you must hide all your knives. Like many other cultures, Germany believes that Halloween is the time of year when the veil between worlds is thin enough for spirits to pass. So to make sure the souls of their visiting relatives don't get hurt, they hide all their knives in the house. This is to ensure there are no accidents and their dead relatives don't get hurt. Michael Jackson's Thriller is the most played Halloween song. There are many songs associated with Halloween, like The Monster Mash and Don't Fear the Reaper, but nothing quite beats Michael Jackson. Jackson's 1983 Thriller is consistently downloaded, streamed, and played every Halloween. Every year, the song sneaks back up into the charts and back onto people's radars, ready in time for Halloween. Since its release, there have been 66 million copies sold globally. Beggar's Night is a tradition in Iowa. In some places, the night before Halloween is known as Mischief Night, but in Des Moines, Iowa, it's different. The actual night of Beggar's Night changes each year and is different depending on your county or state. The concept behind it was to encourage younger children to have a safer experience while trick-or-treating. On Halloween night, it can become quite daunting or too scary for little children, so Beggar's Night was born. It gives sensitive children a chance to still enjoy Halloween, but with reduced stress and more comfort. Disney's Hocus Pocus was almost named Halloween House. Hocus Pocus is a popular movie to watch with friends on Halloween. But did you know that the original concept for Hocus Pocus had a much darker plot with a scarier vibe? The writer Mick Garris had the working title of Halloween House for the script that he pitched to Disney. Disney took it on but changed the name to Hocus Pocus so it had a more family-friendly appeal. Okay, my friends, that's all the facts we are going to do for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Halloween, and down below in the comments I want you guys to tell me what you're doing for Halloween, if anything, or if you celebrate something else, what you do. I'd love to know. I love hearing about people's traditions. And personally, our friend is hosting a like murder mystery dinner party thing. So we're gonna do that tonight. On top of probably eating a bunch of candy, because I guess we're gonna be there, so we're not gonna hand out candy this year. I might set out like a bowl. Anyway, enjoy your Halloween and or Samhain, my friends. And I hope you can relax